Hi guys, this is Doug Brown from Benchmark 54. I'm going to take you through general navigation of the system. So basically, squad name will be here. You'll have your logo in this corner here. Again, this is the squad that's loaded up at the moment. If you want to change the squad, click this drop down and you'll be able to find the list of squads that you have access to in that list. On loan means exactly what it says, so if you have a player on loan to another club, you'll still be able to access that player's records in the on loan section. And then once a player has transferred away from your club, moved say to another club, they'll be in the ex-players area. So we're looking at the moment at the roster. The roster essentially is broken down into playing position, and it's also alphabetical, so it starts with forwards at the top, midfield, defence, goalkeeper. Sometimes a player will have no position at all, and we'll adjust him, and I'll show you how to put a correct position for your player in the profile view. So just going back here, there's a help area here with some YouTube videos and a manual. You can choose your club settings and alter your own profile settings, changing your password and things like that in this menu here. And then activity feed is literally a feed of all the activity that's gone on within your club. Across the top we've got various icons which navigate to different areas. We've got the calendar, which will take you to the training and match diary, where all training sessions are recorded. Matches are automatically recorded. We get this information from various online web sources like Opta and other areas. A summary is literally a summary view of every single athlete in your squad. Availability, again, it's a basic report that shows your availability over the course of a season, and it breaks it down by month. You can also compare previous seasons. Exposure is a little bit like a big Excel grid, and we'll talk about that in a separate section, but it's a big exposure grid. It covers a month, and it shows you what players have been doing over a period of time, whether they're injured or taking part in training sessions or matches, and for how long. Top 10, this is literally your top 10 injuries currently at the club in terms of days lost and frequency. Upload is where all the files are stored, and in that area you will find your monthly reports. One good thing about Benchmark, you probably know, we're heavily involved in some academic work, and we've been working with several research organisations on injury audit for a number of years. We therefore embed a medical audit into the system, so as you're entering the exposure data, the performance data and the injury and illness data, we build in the background a full injury audit or illness audit report for you. And you can get an example of that from the team administrator. You can email us directly if you want to have a look at it also. But essentially it is a full audit based upon the information that you put into the system. It's really accurate, and it's based on the most up-to-date Champions League and Football Association audit. Coaches report. This is an area which either you can download and print off, or your coach can download and print off daily, weekly, whenever it may be. So if you're giving the availability to the coach, for example, on a Monday morning for training, you can give them a nice PDF printed out report which tells them who's fit, who's not. And you can also make little comments regarding players who are not quite ready for the full session, therefore modified, and what that modification may be in a PDF report. So you can make a note in the system, coach can download it at his or her leisure and review that information. The dashboard is quite a big area where you can look at the data analysis, whether it's injury data analysis or GPS data, well-being data. Again, we'll have a little video on that section. The notes is, this is a new area that was suggested by one of our users. And the best way to explain this is if you go into this notes view, you'll see all notes on all players over the last few days. So if you've been away from the club maybe for 3 or 4 days, if you were lucky enough to get a vacation or go on a course, for example, and click that area, it will give you a good update of what's been going on while you've been away. So it's all players, all notes over the last sort of 3 to 4 days. And that's quite a useful one. You'll also be able to add notes in using this, and it's a sort of shortcut way to do it. Here you can see your team roster. So you've got your players, have various statuses from fully fit for this guy to him who's in the acute management stage. The weekly workload is automatically calculated based on their training exposure in minutes multiplied by the rating of perceived exertion. You can use 2 scales for RPE, either the CR10 or the 6 to 20 scale. So workload is measured in arbitrary units. The monotony basically comes from Coots, which essentially is the average daily training load divided by the standard deviation of the daily training load calculated over a week. And we then highlight areas where the training is too monotonous. There is some data to suggest that monotonous training has a higher incidence of soft tissue injury. So we give you the values for this, and we conditionally format it so that if it's in our orange or red zone, it will pop up as such. The strain is a combination of workload and monotony multiplied, and I quite like it because I think it gives a better value of workload rather than just workload per se. Back is when is this player due back, i.e. in how many days is the estimated return to training date. So in this case his estimated return to training is 16 days, John Smith's also 16 days. Incidents is essentially injuries or illness, and you can see John Smith here, he's got 1. We'll click on it and we can see it's a training, that's the icon for training, and that's the icon for injury. It started on the 6th of June, currently is 63 days into the injury. And if you want to go and add notes to that injury, you literally just click on that and it will take you to the injury page. In fact, I did that by mistake, so we're going to just nip back into the home page. On the right hand side of the screen you will see the statistics for that particular season. So this season we're here in 17-18, we'll just nip back into the 16-17 season and see if there's any data that populates there. It's going to refresh itself. Because there's a lot of data in a season, it will just take a few seconds to refresh. There we go. Okay, so essentially what have we got here? Well, there was 926.72 hours of match play, 4,551 hours of training, a one-time loss injury and 6 training injuries, incidents of injuries per 1,000 hours, 1 and 1.1, 1.31. Full fictitious data, it's always going to be a lot higher than that. Training sessions per month versus the average duration in minutes. Full squad training sessions is defined as more than 50% of the squad attended. Match injury incidents versus the exposure versus injuries, not a lot in here, just 1 injury in May. And then training load versus training injury incidents. And then you can see over the seasons, and if you were with us for a number of years, we do a lot of comparative analytics, so you can compare different years, both for new injuries and re-injuries. And the same for injury incidents, match versus training over the years. So essentially that is a very quick introduction to the bits of benchmark. The only other one thing that's new is we have two views here. We've got a normal view and messages. Messages is part of our player athlete self-reporting. So now we have a little app where athletes can add in their well-being scores or any other scores that you configure, and they can also write little notes. And if they do write notes, then they come up here. So this one here, hello, I'm tired. He's had a headache after the match, thinks he got a knock. So the messages will refresh each time there's a new message in, otherwise it will give you the date of the last message that they wrote. So a lot of our clubs use this system, and it's quite useful for players to just report, I'm having a bit of a niggle in my left hamstring or my right posterior thigh, can you review it as soon as I come in? It just helps you to plan the morning session and decide who, or give you a little bit of a heads up on who may not be training that day. So that is a very quick introduction to our general navigation. If you wanted to invite any users to the system, so if you're the manager of the system, you can invite members by essentially typing in the squad in this little box here, and putting the role, so role, coaching staff, physio, medical team manager, doctor, and email, and then send the invite, and that will invite the new users to your squad. If you need to contact us, there's normally a little icon in the corner here, and you just click on that, and you can ping us a message. It's live chats, quite a few of us in the support area, and if nobody's online, it will direct it straight into our support email, and we'll get back to you very quickly. So that's our support area there, bottom right hand corner. You can actually email us, or you can give us a call. It's up to you. The support is probably the most quick way to get in touch with us. It's usually somebody online most of the time. Even weekends, we'll do our best to answer any queries. If you're looking for a particular athlete who may be in a different squad, let's say you've got seniors and under-23s, you literally just start typing the athlete's name, and that will find the athlete there. Videos are in this area here. We've got video tutorials. Activity feed is a feed of all the activity on your site. Settings, you can change your profile. You can change some club settings. The rest of them are part of our workload. So club settings, you can change preferences for setting up and configuring your app. In your profile, you can change your profile, user role, name, etc., and reset your password in there. Okay, well, thanks for that. That was just a quick introduction to overall getting to navigate through the system. I'll cover off each of these separate areas in a bit more detail in the next video. Cheers.